RJ. And Isaiah. Thanks for tuning in to 6Three podcast. I'm your host.
Oh! Oh!
Yes! Yes! Good start. Very strong start here at the 6-3, featuring your hosts, Joel, RJ, and Isaiah. Good grief. That was raw. We must be
That was rough.
We must be a week behind or whatever. I don't know. We are not with it. This coronavirus got us feeling some kind of way.
Don't say that.
Man, it was the draft this last week, so that was cool. What'd you guys think about what the Lions did there?
Started out pretty great, actually. They won. Yeah. They 1-2. I was amazed. I was like, who are the GM and coach making these picks?
Yeah. We should put Bob Quinn's ass in the line more often.
Right? And then day 3, though, he came back to normal pretty much.
Yeah.
What's your guys' favorite pick?
Running back took us 2 guards. Yeah, it was just wild.
What's your
As
favorite
always, pick? Some of the picks are great and some of the picks are not great.
Yeah.
Who's my favorite pick? I don't know. Besides Okudah, I think a lot of us can agree that Okudah is an immediate game changer at corner. Going to probably have some growing pains, and if they still don't get a pass rush, what good is he really? That's kind of how I feel about that. But I think my favorite pick besides that is Julian Okwara, though. Getting Romeo's brother. I think nothing motivates 2 athletes like sibling testosterone. So putting Romeo and Julian in the same locker room, working with the same defensive coordinator, the same D-line coach, basically. I don't know. Julian Okwara, he kind of reminds me of a better Barkevious Mingo. Just kind of with his bend and burst. I think he's going to make an immediate impact replacing Devon Kennard.
That's an upgrade.
Yeah. Definitely. For a rookie.
Yeah. Okwara was my favorite pick, too, if we're not picking Okudah, just because everyone's favorite pick is going to be the guy you took 3rd overall. But, yeah, I think, like RJ, you were saying, there were some hits, there were some misses, but I thought Okwara in those later day in post first and second round was the highlight of the Lions draft.
Just to be different, I like DeAndre Swift. I agree with you on that, but I like adding him as a 1-2 punch with Kerryon, especially since Kerryon gets injured all the time.
So it's funny because I think we're all on different parts of the spectrum there. Our Isaiah, we're talking a little bit earlier about that. Isaiah does not really like DeAndre Swift at a running back as a running back there that early at least. And I'm kind of on the boat of I'm not disappointed with the pick, but I felt like guys like Itur Gross-Matos, AJ Epinesa, Zach Bond were better and greater position needs at the.
They could have got him all those guys way later too, though. If they really wanted them. They were all on the board for another round almost.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that. And to me, the only thing that went through my head on why they did not take an edge rusher at these first couple points was Jadeveon Clowney or Yannick Ngakoue are still on the table.
They got money still. They got money to spend. So that would be huge if they can get one of those guys.
Yeah. And Julian Okwara obviously fills some part of the edge, but he's more of a linebacker edge. And I think they need more of that defensive line edge to go opposite Trey Flowers.
Which could end the brother teammates pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean that means Romeo Okwara is not needed anymore.
No, I like DeAndre Swift. Just as a running back, I thought he was the best running back in the class. I thought the top 3 guys, they had good competition between them, him, Taylor, and
Dobbins.
With Dobbins. Any of those 3 I would have been happy with, but it just shows it's the question of is there more to Kerryon Johnson's injury things than they're letting on, so they think they need to get someone else in there? Are they really full force into this new NFL thing, or not new, but just what a lot of teams are doing now is running back by committee. You run a guy for a couple downs, you run another guy for a couple downs, you run another guy for a couple downs. There's not really one main workhorse guy. Maybe you'll have one guy that ends with a couple hundred more yards than the other guys at the end of the season, which I would assume would be Johnson. But are they going to do running back by committee? Then I like the pick. If they're just getting him because they thought he was a good pick, that's when I say you could have gotten a position of more immediate need. But I do like Swift. I think he translates to the NFL good. I think he will be great on the Lions. There's a lot of questions that come from picking a running back that high when they have the running back room that they have.
Yeah, with Carry-On, he showed flashes, but he's also showed he's injury prone.
Yeah.
So I think when he's hurt, there's no sustainable offense when it comes to running the football. So I think you have both of them run the ball. I think you're going to see him committing, like you said. And if he does get injured, again, sadly, hopefully it doesn't happen, then you still have a number one guy that can sustain your offense.
Who is off the roster in that very stacked running back room now that they drafted Jason Huntley, who to me reminds me more of like Dexter McCluster or J.D. McKissick. He's very, very athletic, great at catching the ball. DeAndre Swift is also good at catching the ball.
Well, you got your 90-man roster. Pull up the running backs. What do you got? Let's list them off.
I don't even have to look at it, man. It's Kerryon Johnson, DeAndre Swift. Then it's Bo Scarborough, Ty Johnson, and Jason Huntley. And then you have like Wes Hills and any other guy like that. But, I mean, we know Wes Hills is going to be cut.
I think they keep 4 or 5 guys.
I think, well, if they're going to keep the fullback Nick Bowden, I think they're only having 4 running backs.
If they only have 4, I'm thinking Kerryon Johnson, Scarborough, DeAndre Swift. If you don't end up on your day one roster with a guy you pick in the second round, then that's ridiculous. And then I would say, I don't know, I would prefer Ty Johnson out of what's left. But
I don't think they can risk putting Jason Huntley on the practice squad, though. They might sign him to the practice squad, but I think he gets snagged. That's the problem with the other guys.
For sure.
Ty Johnson.
That's why I think they might carry 5. I mean, because Ty Johnson's a guy who could be, he's a home run threat guy too, and he showed some flashes, but obviously didn't get the chance later when Bo Scarborough went over.
Ty Johnson can play returner, but they got Jamal Agnew, who's a former All-Pro returner, and he struggled at the beginning of last year, but he picked it up again.
He's one-dimensional, though.
Yeah, and I know that you also don't want a corner to take up that roster spot just to be a return man.
Yeah,
so he's not good.
I think Agnew might be the
nickel
one.
Corner. He's not
out the door.
Yeah, I think Agnew's cut. I think this means it's Agnew's job is cut is just done, and I think they're going to use Huntley as a kick returner. And
it's the only way I see them getting a 5th person in that room is via returner it kind of stinks because Jamal Agnew was an All-Pro, and it was like really awesome to see just that random, even though it's returner, like All-Pro returner. But yeah, I think I agree with you. Jamal Agnew might be on his way out if this is how it looks.
That or Bo Scarborough, I think, is also another guy to look for if they don't really seem like he feels need. They didn't throw to him more than twice last year in all the games he played, and I just think that as long as Kerryon and Swift are both healthy, I think we're going to see a lot of shotgun split formations, the kinds that I like to run in Madden, where maybe they move Swift out to the slot and they let him catch the ball because he's even better in catching the ball than Kerryon ever will be. And they might – go ahead.
Yeah, and perfect scenario is we have – they aren't going to be as good of a team, but we have a situation like the 49ers where it's like, oh, is that Mostert or is that Coleman? Or like you have these multiple guys who are just like killing it every game. And like one game it's Kerryon Johnson, one game it's DeAndre Swift, one game you have Bo Scarborough just going beast mode, knocking people over for touchdowns. Like that's the best scenario, and that's where I will change my tune on what I think of that pick of DeAndre Swift if that's what happens. But if they run Kerryon Johnson for 1,200 yards or try to if he stays healthy, and Swift's just kind of sitting there to be your fatigue back when Johnson gets tired, I say that's not worth a second-round pick.
Yeah, with getting 2 running backs, 2 guards, it seems they're still trying to fix this running game. So I think we're going to get a heavy dose of both those guys.
I hope so.
Who do you guys think was the weirdest or most pointless or worst pick basically the Lions had in this draft? Obviously, we probably agree it was in day 3. But what made you scratch the head the most on all of his picks?
I wasn't a fan of the second running back at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also not a really fan of the wide receiver. I know, Joel, you liked him. You actually had him pre-drafted him, I think, in the 6th round in your mock draft.
I told Isaiah I think they took him 1 round early, but if you didn't think he was going to swing back around again, I'd taking him there in the 5th.
I feel like he's another slow guy that's not going to get separation, and he has history, a negative history with the law. So, I mean, I don't really like that pick.
Yeah, I think the pick that made me scratch my head, at least the first one, was the second guard they picked in the 4th round. It was just, I don't know. I like Jonah Jackson. I like that pick in the 3rd with their second, 3rd round pick. But just going with Stenberg in that 4th, like if it pans out, it pans out. But I was just kind of like, oh, just seeing offensive guard back to back just made me look twice and be like, oh, why? Were there not? I wasn't watching the later days, but it made me think like, was there no one else you could have picked there?
Yeah, I agree. If I had to pick I think Stenberg would probably be my second biggest head scratch. But actually their last pick, which probably matters the least, was Jayshon Cornell, Ohio State defensive tackle. He was a 5-star athlete out of high school, but at that time he was 6'4", 260, and he was projected to play edge for Ohio State. He put on 25 pounds, and he was, to me, best case scenario, he plays in a rotational role with Deshaun Hand. He's kind of similar with that. He has solid athleticism, pretty good quickness, but his body size is kind of awkward, and I don't think, and he's got a disappointing bull rush. He didn't even have a massive scouting report, and he was actually pretty hard to find some information on. Had very little film I could find on him on YouTube as well, but they must have saw something else. I didn't like it, but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day.
Yeah, I definitely think he's a project pick for sure.
But the Penasini, opposite of Leaky Fotu at Utah, I like that pick. Best case scenario, he is Snacks Harrison. He's dominant run stopper. He has almost no help in pass defense, but run stop wise, you put him on the goal line and he could make some good plays. He's definitely another rotational guy, but I actually like Penasini because he's elite at one thing. And if there's obviously situations that call for it in short down conversions or goal line stands, Penasini's the guy to plug in there immediately.
Well, I think with your 3rd day picks, that's a lot of when I see value in those guys is if they are just really, really good at one thing. Mm-hmm. Like you don't want a jack of all trades in the 6th and 7th round because they're probably never going to see the field if they're just mediocre for a 6th round pick at a lot of things. But if they can just do one thing really good and just be a guy on the roster who you put in those situations in your goal line sets or in your short yardage sets on defense just to stuff a run, like that's when I see value in those. So I do like him there. And yeah, like some of those later picks, if they can just find one thing that they do and do it well, they can add some value to this team.
Out of these 9 draft picks by Bob Quinn, how many of them are week 1 starters?
Say 4.
Yeah, I was going to say 4 too. I
think we probably – unless Arawaria kills it in the preseason or whatever, I don't think they're just going to hand Okudah his job. But
they should hand it to him right now.
Honestly, I'm on board with that, but yeah. I don't think Matt Patricia's ever been about just a free gimme, you know. So I think it's going to be. I think Trufant and Arawaria could start out week 1, and obviously Arawaria is on the shortest leash ever because Okudah is just dancing right there, and they could put him obviously in dime packages in certain situations where the corner might be a little exhausted. They definitely have strong depth there. Justin Coleman's still their nickel guy.
I think if you traded away Slay though, and then drafted Okudah, and you don't bring him out there right away, fans are going to be livid.
Yeah. No, so I'm playing devil's advocate. I think Okudah starts week 1. But DeAndre Swift, I don't see him usurping Kerryon Johnson right now. If they start out with 1 running back, I think Kerryon's still going to start week 1.
Yeah, but
I think he sees the field week 1.
So, yeah, he's going to see the field. He's not going to be like the first snap, potentially starter, but they're going to have 2 running backs.
I think the person that's going to get the most snaps week 1, actually, this might surprise you, is Jonah Jackson, because I think he is a week 1 starting guard, and I think typically the offensive linemen, if you noticed last year, they almost played 100%. Other than with swapping Glasgow out with Wiggins, it was pretty much they ran their guys 100% of all offensive plays. So I think if they choose that starting guard, which I think is going to be Jackson over Stenberg, I think we're going to see Jackson week 1 play the most. Aquara is probably going to get about 75% of defensive snaps, though, too.
Yeah, no, I think your starters, like your guys who are there on the first play, are Aquara, Kuda, and Jackson. DeAndre Swift, like me and RJ said, he'll see the field week 1. But, yeah, he's going to be best case scenario for Swift unless Kerryon Johnson gets hurt for the next 2 or 3 years as running back 2.
My sleeper starter is Jason Huntley. He's going to start as kick returner week 1.
Okay. That's cheating.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What's your
long snapper?
favorite, what's your favorite undrafted signing?
Ooh, good call. But I think everyone unanimously is thinking Hunter Bryant. I think a lot of people agreed. Tight end out of Washington. I think a lot of people agreed that he was already a top 5 tight end for sure in this draft class. And there's a bunch of random tight ends that got snagged in the draft before him. He is a receiving-only tight end, though. Very undersized. He's 6'2", 240. And I see him as a ceiling of Eric Ebron that doesn't drop passes. So just obviously a very athletic receiver. Could have a few hiccups early on, but I think this guy makes the roster. And I think this means that the Lions run with 4 tight ends on their opening 53-man roster because they still have, unless they can trade off Jesse James or something, I think they run with TJ, JJ, and then Hunter Bryant and Isaac Nauta.
So Logan Thomas getting the axe?
Yeah, Logan Thomas is on Washington with J.D. McKissick now.
Yeah. I like Jalen Elliott from Notre Dame. I actually thought they were gonna pick someone like him with their 7th round pick. But I think he's got great ball skills. I think he could be a contributor to this team too. Jalen Elliott from Notre Dame. I like that. And hey man, you got to go with Aaron Sippis.
Oh yeah, Aaron Sippis at punter, dude. I've watched some Australian football, and he got a leg, man.
Australian rules football is an underrated sport.
Yeah, it takes some talent. But I agree, Jalen Elliott's another guy. He's not – I think he went undrafted because he's not as athletic as a majority of the safeties in the NFL.
Yeah.
But he plays bigger than he really is. He has subpar man coverage skills, and he's an average tackler at best. But I think he could be an impact special teams player. So and the Lions have definitely prided themselves on special teams players. They've got some of the best gunners in the league, and I could see Elliott making the team as a gunner.
I had a question for you guys. RJ, you brought up, Cephas, the wide receiver from Wisconsin. We are going to get to Michigan players in the draft. DPJ was still on the board at the time. Are we wishing they would have gone with the Michigan guy, or do you think Cephas is better than him?
I personally wish that.
I know. Is that our Homer talking, though?
Yes,
it totally is. You both have Michigan shirts on, so.
I think DPJ is poor man's Golden Tate. He's athletic. He can play the slot. I mean, they love these big, tall, slow wide receivers that can't separate, but they can catch when you're covered. Let Stafford throw it up and they'll make a great catch. But, I want someone that can get open or can take a quick 5-yard pass, turn it 45 yards real quick with a nice move. We really don't have that on our roster right now.
So I agree with that because I do believe that NFL rosters for prime success need to have a variety of different wide receivers. And obviously we've already got 2 guys that play with their whole body, like Galladay and Marvin Jones Jr., and they make crazy catches no matter where Stafford puts that ball. And then you got, to be honest, the guy that creates the best separation for the Lions at receiver right now is Travis Fulgham. And he barely sees that's what he was drafted for originally, was he creates separation. But he's not that fast, but somehow he's a good enough route runner where he finds his way open. And that's the thing with Quintez Cephas. He's a good route runner, but I think honestly the Lions made this pick strictly that in their introductory meetings with Jeff Okudah, they're like, who do we need at wide receiver? And Jeff Okudah, as you heard, at Combine, he said that he was the toughest cover he faced in college.
I hope not, because I don't want my first-round pick making other draft picks, unless he's a franchise quarterback or something. But
Yeah. Well, even in the first, I mean, obviously that was probably an exaggeration, but I think they took that pretty seriously, that the guy that they felt comfortable taking at number 3, who's obviously an elite tier in this draft class, the fact that he says a guy like Cephas, who no one thinks that Cephas sucks, but the fact that they think he was tough enough on Okudah, who dominated plenty of good receivers in college, that's pretty high praise coming from him. And I think they took that chance on him in the 5th or 6th because they probably didn't think he was swinging back around again.
Did you like that 4.740?
No, I didn't. No, and I like Peoples-Jones 4.43, to be honest. And his broad jump and vertical jump was insane. So I like DPJ, and I think I would have rather honestly had him if I had a gun to my head. I'm going to take DPJ. But Jeff Risdon, who we had last week from Real GM, he was 3-4 hours before the draft even started that day. He says, look for the Browns to probably draft on him when Peoples-Jones. They have done their due diligence and homework on this guy. They're probably going to take him at some point. And he still fell to 6 to the Browns, and so it means the Browns passed over him 3 or 4 times before they took him. So,
question for you, though. Just keeping with DPJ and the rest of the Michigan players, when you had him, there was a number 1 receiver coming out. You had Shea Patterson, who was the number 1 quarterback coming out. And these guys either don't get drafted or fall really late. Is this just – were they overranked, or was this bad coaching by Michigan not taking advantage of their skill sets?
Isaiah, you can answer that first.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. With Shea Patterson, it's an interesting situation. Me and Joe were talking about that earlier. I think he's very skilled, and I think he did good at Michigan. I think he could have done better. I just don't see his skill set translating to the NFL that well. I don't think it's the type of player he is. I thought he was a good college player, but a lot of times good college players aren't good NFL players. And then DPJ falling with all the Michigan prospects, I don't know. I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if it's just they weren't taken full advantage of in these situations they were in at Michigan. But I don't know. I think I think it would be the opposite in my initial reaction of having an NFL head or a past NFL head coach as your head coach. But I don't know what goes on in the locker room at Michigan that would make these GMs think they're less valuable than they could be.
So to that point, Shea Patterson, definitely I agree to that. He doesn't have the skill set really for the NFL, but it is weird that we can just by the eye test see that he is better than Wilton Spate, and Wilton Spate stayed on the 49ers for a hot minute as a 4th-string quarterback for the 49ers. So and John freaking O'Korn and Shane Morris at least got a tryout with the Lions. And Shea Patterson still has no reports of even getting a tryout or a mini camp invite at all.
Shea Patterson's better than Connor Cook, and Connor Cook played in a playoff game.
Brian Lewerke just got signed. So Shea Patterson is the last quarterback in this draft class to be signed. And it's to me, it's wild. I didn't think he was going to get drafted. I thought he was going to be a pretty coveted undrafted free agent, though, that someone might, take a shot at. But I don't think this. I think the fact that you still get this many guys in the last couple of years now under Harbaugh's regime that are still getting drafted. He's recruiting talent, but their scheme, they're too stubborn to change that scheme. And we noticed it with Josh Gaddis last year. He came in, and it wasn't until maybe later in the year where he started incorporating more passing in his offense. Otherwise, it was literally inside zone runs for Zach Charbonnet over and over and over, and it was painful to watch. So I think it's just that they're stubborn with their scheme. They get these elite players, these 5-star, these strong 4-star recruits, and they don't really develop them much higher than that, other than they're pretty much guaranteed to be drafted right when they're out of high school, just on their potential or talent alone. It's just it's not following through somewhere. It's not connecting.
And I think Michigan, if on offense they underutilize or assess the pure value of anything, it's in the passing game. So it's in receiving and it's in passing quarterbacks. And with the NFL, you want a quarterback that can pass. Even you have your Cam Newtons, your Lamar Jacksons, but 28 out of 32 teams want a guy who can pass, and that want a guy who can sit in the pocket, maybe run around a little bit, but they want a guy who can pass, and Michigan just doesn't. That's not their game. And they want receivers who can catch everything and have tons of tape on them. And DPJ has a ton of great tape, but not as much as some of these other guys who, like in LSU, Joe Burrow was throwing the ball around like a madman. So Justin Jefferson has 50 times more opportunities to look good than DPJ or someone else. And that's why I have a little hope for Cephas, because if there's any team in the NCAA that underutilizes wide receivers, it's Wisconsin, because
no quarterback.
But they just he never had a good quarterback, so his numbers aren't going to look that great. And they, more than Michigan and more than almost any other Big Ten team, and so any team in the NCAA, run the heck out of the ball. They are not a pass first; they're a pass fourth. So I'm fine with Cephas looking only a little above average through college, because much like Michigan's receiving and passing game, there's just not a lot of opportunity to look stellar.
Yeah, good point there for sure. I was surprised still to see as many Michigan players fall off the board that we saw. I kind of predicted elite for sure 6, probably 7 is what I kind of went with. But to see Mike Dana go as like the 5th Michigan player in this, and I thought he was for sure undrafted. And then Jordan Glasgow sneaking in there in the 7th. Like, these are guys that I for sure thought were undrafted, and they still went in. John Runyon, I thought would have been a late rounder. Josh Metellus somehow snuck in there, and I thought he was going to go undrafted. The biggest surprise was Lavert Hill. I thought Hill was probably a 6 or a 7. He went undrafted but got signed by the Chiefs later. And Sean McCune, I figured he'd go undrafted, but he's now with the Cowboys. Shea Patterson's the only one left on Michigan that is not
on a NFL roster.
Yeah. So this is a lot though, that they're four of their 5 starting linemen, obviously the only ones that were eligible, all got drafted. So Jalen Mayfield next year, he's a redshirt sophomore next year, so he's technically eligible next year if he wants. We'll see how high on the list he goes.
Yeah. Well, it seems like what NFL GMs are respecting, at least in the draft from Michigan the past few years, is O-line and defensive front 7.
Yeah. Yeah, now Uche is paired up with Chase Winovich in New England. Devin Asiasi, the former transfer from Michigan who went to UCLA, is in New England. They got Michael Onwenu at guard from Michigan. So for all you singles out there, get someone that loves you the way Bill Belichick loves players that play for Michigan.
Well, get away from Michigan and local team. Out of the other teams in the draft, what was the biggest head-scratching pick to you guys?
Go ahead, Joel.
You can start that right out with, I think all of us would probably say Jordan Love going to Green Bay, 26th overall. Like, okay. I think people didn't even think the Packers were going to draft a quarterback in the 7th round, to be honest. I don't think anyone was thinking the Packers were looking at quarterback at least this year. And here they are. They may be looking to get rid of Rodgers a little sooner than he's thinking too. If they get 3 straight Hall of Famers, man, shoot me now.
Yeah. No, I hope not.
If they have a Hall of Fame quarterback, but he wins 1 championship in 20 years?
He's a pain in the Lions' tush every year, though. Every game he plays. I know. That Hail Mary, the all constant complaints. At least Jordan.
Oh, you mean the face mask penalty? That wasn't a face mask
Devin
penalty?
Taylor, that faux face mask. And then to give him that free shot at the Hail Mary, Richard Rodgers. Yeah. I was at RJ's apartment for that one. I think I cried. But, yeah, Jordan Love at least doesn't come off like the guy that's going to complain if he gets taken down like a cradle baby. I just don't understand. I don't like Rodgers at all, but I'm ready to get him out of division whenever they are, for sure.
Yeah, well, and I don't know how it'll be because Rodgers is not Brett Favre. Like, Rodgers, I mean, maybe the media makes more out of it, and maybe I just hold on to it tighter because I don't like him. But he doesn't seem like he gets along with anyone. And if he doesn't seem like the guy – he doesn't seem like the guy – the heir to the throne is someone he's going to cultivate well. He doesn't seem like the guy that'll back off to try to raise the next guy. Rodgers seems to me more so the guy who's going to just make sure that kid doesn't see the field.
Sabotage him.
Yeah, sabotage like he did with Brett Hundley and Deshaun Kaiser, and now he's going to do it with Jordan Love.
Well, I thought the pick was way too early. I mean, he's 36. Brett Favre's 35 when they drafted Rodgers, but Brett Favre was already talking about retirement, and this is a different NFL where you have Brady playing at 42 at a top level. You could see Aaron Rodgers play for 6+ years easily. I love the pick because I thought it was stupid.
Yeah.
And I'm a Lions fan.
I love all their picks.
Either they wasted the pick or they were getting Aaron Rodgers out of there. Win-win for me.
I think the pick the Packers had was a horrible pick, and I was all down with it.
Another pick I want to get you guys' thoughts on is Philadelphia Eagles going Jalen Hurts, quarterback at Oklahoma in the second round.
I mean, I like Carson. I like Carson Wentz, but I don't trust Carson Wentz really. I don't trust him to stay healthy. I don't trust him to be. I mean, the Eagles, at least how their fans talk and other media talks, they want to get back to the Super Bowl, and I don't think
don't we all?
There's much of a chance of that happening anytime soon. But I don't think Carson Wentz is the quarterback to get you there, even though he kind of got you there once, and then Nick Foles took over. Jalen Hurts seems like he could just be a better Carson Wentz. He has a problem fumbling the ball a lot. He has a problem. He had a lot of problems in Oklahoma. He really benefited under Nick Saban. So maybe he's not a better Carson Wentz, but I don't know about either of them. I don't trust either of them.
He was a weird pick in the second round for sure, and relatively early in the second round. But I don't see him as a successful NFL quarterback at all. But I do see him as definitely a strong backup. But to me, he doesn't fit. You want your backup to be similar to your starter, and he's way more athletic than Carson Wentz is. Not that Carson Wentz isn't athletic. I think he is overall, but
he wants to be more athletic than he is.
He's like if Lamar Jackson was in his 8th year, he'd be a good backup. But I see him kind of fit in that style of offense where you have a strong one. Maybe Chargers, but the Chargers just drafted Justin Herbert. But I felt like he was similar to Tyrod Taylor. So if they wanted to groom someone under Tyrod Taylor for a little bit, Jalen Hurts isn't bad to get in the third. Gosh, man.
It does seem like they're going to have two different offenses. If Carson Wentz goes down, Jalen Hurts can't do the same things. So, I mean, is everyone going to have to learn two different offenses, and then they're going to bring them in on some sub packages, and if they get hurt, they're going to just throw away their normal offense? I mean, it's questionable pick for me, I think.
I think the other weirdest pick that a lot of people aren't really putting a lot of focus on was the Raiders' first-round pick, Damon Arnett, the corner from Ohio State. I remember watching the draft and seeing Damon Arnett go off when I had him towards the end of the second round. They reached like they did with Clelin Ferrell last year at 4, and Damon Arnett was no different. There's about 4 or 5 other corners I can count off the top of my head that should have went before him.
Yeah. The second level of cornerbacks in this draft, like after the couple top guys, there was a huge gap, but teams really reached for the ones that
AJ Terrell went to the Falcons, I think. Yeah, AJ Terrell went to the Falcons at 16. That was another pretty early one.
I think there were 3 first-round cornerbacks in the second half of the first round that it was just like, that guy is a third-round pick. But, yeah, I don't know. John Gruden wants to be he wants that mystique of Bill Belichick, like, oh, I'll just trust him because he's Bill Belichick. But John Gruden's not Bill Belichick.
Nobody is right now in the NFL.
Yeah. And I thought you were going to say with the Raiders, Henry Ruggs. I like Henry Ruggs. I thought he was the 4th best wide receiver in the class. But there was the other 3 wide receivers in the class left. What do you guys think of that pick?
Yeah, go ahead, RJ. Sorry.
That was Al Davis picking from the grave, man. 100%. Al Davis made that pick. No doubt about it.
So I actually picked Ruggs to go to the Raiders, but at 19, not at 12.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like there were obviously, if they wanted to take a wide receiver that bad, and obviously guys like Judy or CeeDee Lamb were still there. But Ruggs, I figured they wanted that kind of speed receiver on their roster. And I think when you have Chiefs envy when you play them twice a year. So they're like, all right, we're gonna take our speed guy now too. So I felt like Ruggs was a pretty sure fire to go to Raiders. So I'm not saying that it was a bad pick, but I felt like maybe there was other guys they could
I
have.
called that one dead on.
Did you?
Yep.
But it was Al Davis. Are you Al Davis?
No, I just know Al Davis. You know, he still got his hands on that organization. That's where they're never going to win.
Yeah,
Even in Vegas.
There were definitely a couple of head scratches. I think the next biggest one I could think of in the first round was the Seahawks taking Jordan Brooks, linebacker.
Yeah.
In the late first. Again, he was a second or third round linebacker to me, and it was just a weird pick. They didn't have a good draft because the next round they went Darrell Taylor, and then they took a tight end from Stanford, Colby Parkinson. I've not been impressed with the Seahawks draft the last 3 years. But they win in free agency, so that's fine.
They usually always have a reach every year in the early in the draft. We've talked about Packers and Bears being the losers of the draft.
I would say the Bears are the losers. I would
say they're losers, just all together.
As a team, they're losers, but they did not have a terrible draft. It just I don't know. They're fine because they have they got Khalil Mack's younger brother today. Was it LaMichael or whatever? LaMichael Mack. They signed Khalil Mack's younger brother, so Ryan Pace was jumping.
What teams do you think won the draft weekend?
For sure, the Vikings, dude. For sure, the Vikings. I mean, so I think a lot of analysts think that the Vikings had one of the best drafts, but getting Justin Jefferson to follow them at 22, well, let's hope he's not a Laquan Treadwell, right?
No, let's hope he is. What are you talking about?
That's
not Vikings.
Fantastic. Just like Donald Trump about bleach. I was being sarcastic. And then they traded back into the first round after they traded out to get the cornerback from TCU, Jeff Gladney. So I thought that was another really good pick. And then I was also very high on cornerback Cam Dantzler. They got Ezra Cleveland, the Boise State offensive tackle. And then I like DJ Wanham, the edge rusher from South Carolina. And then they had a couple meh picks in between that, but then one of their second to last pick, I believe, was Kenny Willekes. And he fell all the way to the 7th round for them. And that's a high ceiling, high potential guy. Not that I'm big on Michigan State guys anyway, but Kenny Willekes is definitely talented and a great pick in the 7th round for value. So I like the Vikings, to be honest. I think they had the best draft.
My winner, honestly, was the Ravens. I thought like just all their picks, especially the early ones, just made sense. And for a team that it seems like the hump they need to get over isn't talent, it's maturity. It seems like they filled all the small holes that they had. They needed an inside linebacker. You get Patrick Queen. I thought they needed to get young on running back, and you get J.K. Dobbins, who's just, as Michigan fans, we know that he can just tear you up if he really wants to. I liked
Matabike.
Matabike in the 3rd round, and I liked all their third round picks.
Malik Harrison, Ben Bredesen, and then they get James Proche and Geno Stone from Iowa at safety. Yeah, they definitely had a great draft. I ranked them 3rd, right behind the Cowboys and the Vikings.
Ooh.
Yeah, I agree. Ravens are my favorite draft. I mean, they're a team that's right away from a step or two away from the Super Bowl, and they got better. So I think that you hit a home run adding J.K. Dobbins to that offense, which is already the greatest rushing offense in the history of the NFL, and then you add a stud running back to go into it more. Love a lot of their picks. Patrick Queen, great pick. Steers up the middle linebacker position. They upgraded the offensive line. They got some more wide receivers too. Great draft, I think, for the Ravens.
Yeah, I think anybody between the Vikings, Cowboys, and Ravens are up for grabs on who had the best draft, because the Cowboys, they got CeeDee Lamb there at 14, and then they got Trevon Diggs. Then they got Neville Gallimore, and then they drafted that very high ceiling but often injured Tyler Badage, the center from Wisconsin, who I really like. And then in the 5th, they had Bradley and Ney, the edge rusher, fall all the way to him. So to me, that's another really good draft. And I think, like you guys said, with the Ravens, you pick between the Ravens, Vikings, Cowboys, pick your poison on who had the best one.
Yeah. Well, and I think with the Vikings, you have 15 picks in the draft, and normally I think how most teams go is if you can somewhat hit, like if half those picks see the field in the next year, it was a successful draft. And if you have 8 or 7 people from one draft to see the field the next season, the Vikings are sitting good. Is it enough to get over and win the NFC North? We'll see. But, yeah, I think they had a strong draft.
So we can do some closing thoughts on the lines. You can kind of circle back to them. What spots do they still need to fill the most right now?
I would say pass rusher, still big need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think edge.
Yeah. And they partially filled the edge getting the Devon Kennard replacement with Julian Okwara, but if Unique Ngakoue or Jadeveon Clowney are guys that they want to invest in despite their character concerns, then shoot it. Honestly, I think they are very close if they get an elite edge rusher. And I hate saying that because it's like you're drinking the Kool-Aid, but on paper, once again, they get an edge rusher that's elite, like Unique Ngakoue or Jadeveon Clowney, and I think they're putting themselves in a very good position to at least make a push back into the playoffs this year, especially with that fourth place schedule.
Yeah, I really honestly want them to get Ngakoue because I think I don't know. Sometimes I have trust in those guys that half the NFL is out on just because of their behavioral issues. And in best case scenario, it's just where he is. Because you see that from a lot of these guys. Sometimes they just get so fed up with the specific place they are that when they get to the next team, those things aren't a problem. And that's a roll of the dice, but I hope it would be. I just want them to wait a little bit farther into summer so these, whether it's Clowney or Ngakoue, if it is one of those two, they've already started dropping their price. I want them to drop it a little more. But yeah, the behavioral things, I mean, I don't know if you guys have been watching Last Dance, but like Scottie Pippen, when he was trying to get traded, was pissed at the GM and talking crap to him all. But once he decided to get right and he went to a new team, he was a stud. And he was a stud the rest of that season when they decided not to trade him. So sometimes it's just a couple months situation that makes these guys act crazier than they really are. And I hope with Ngakoue, if the Lions do get him, that's one of those situations.
Yeah, they need linebacker too. If I'm looking at this sheet, I like Jamie Collins at his specific linebacker position, but I don't know if Jared Davis fits that scheme at all. So that's Jelani Tavai's spot temporarily, unless they want to get another middle linebacker that's similar to Tavai, because that's the kind of scheme they're running right now on defense. Same with Christian Jones. He's technically the starting Mike linebacker as well. So I think that Christian Jones and Elijah Lee and Anthony Pittman are not great depth at that spot at all. I like Christian Jones as a backup, if to be honest. And Jared Davis strictly as a blitzing linebacker. He could have success blitzing, surprise blitzing. And I like Tavai, obviously, as a strong middle linebacker to fit the scheme. But I think between edge and another strong linebacker, they look close on paper. So
don't buy the hype, Joel. Don't buy it.
I'm trying not to. I'm drinking Baja Blast. I'm not drinking that Kool-Aid, man. No way.
Well, are you guys ready to get into some trivia?
Yes, please.
Ready as I'll ever be, man.
All right, we do a lot of trivia on this show because we like competition. Any form we can get it in. So I'm going to ask you guys 10 questions. Give me your answer right on a piece of paper. When I say ready, go ahead and put it on the screen. I'll let you know who was right and who was wrong. And let's see who wins between you guys.
Deal.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
All right. First question. Broadway Joe Namath spent most of his career with the New York Jets, including a Super Bowl victory. What team was he with when he retired?
I want to say their color is red.
Yeah, right? I don't know. That's – all right.
You both got an answer?
Yeah, same color as my Sharpie.
All right, go ahead, put them up. You guys go at the same – oh, nice, same guess.
You guys – was it right?
Was it right?
No, it's not right.
Oh.
Los Angeles Rams.
Hey, nice guess, Isaiah. Screw that answer.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
There we go. All right, a little more recent for you, Joel. I had to throw that old one in there just to, throw you off. Which team drafted LeVar Arrington in the 2000 NFL draft?
All right.
You ready?
All right. Oh, yeah.
All right, go ahead. I love that you crossed it out, Joel.
I know, right? I should just left it there.
You crossed it out and wrote the exact same answer. The answer was the Washington Redskins. They took him second overall. Joel got that one right.
All right.
Hot start.
Yeah.
All right.
50%, baby. Failing.
Number 3. Curtis Martin was drafted in the 3rd round of the 1995 NFL Draft by the New England Patriots. Where did he play college football?
Can you give me a conference?
I can't.
I feel like I should know this one too.
What year was it? 95?
95.
We'll throw back.
Right.
Gosh, man.
I got an answer.
I don't think
It's
this is
right.
right.
Okay,
But
put him up.
Played by Cordell Stewart at Colorado.
Oh, Colorado, Nebraska. Good guesses. Both wrong. Pittsburgh.
We both went Big 12, though. Gosh.
All right. There you go.
RJ, what conference is Pittsburgh in?
Are they ACC?
ACC. But were they that in the 1995, though?
Were they in the Big East, I think, at that time, weren't they?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes. Back when that was a thing.
Yeah, right? Which of the following 3 defensive tackles were all taken first overall? A, Dominican Sue, Steve Atman, and Randy White. B, Dan Hampton, Joe Green, Merlin Olsen. C, Dan Wilkinson, Art Donovan, Ernie Stouter. Or D, Russell Maryland, Steve Atman, and Dan Wilkinson.
All right.
Ready? All right. You both said D, and you both got that one right.
Yep.
Ooh.
So you put in,
Let's go.
I heard Big Daddy Wilkinson say and C, you had Big Daddy also. I was like, wait, is that right? And then you,
Right?
you repeated him in the 4th, and I was like, all right, that's it.
All right.
I just totally guessed.
Nice. When in doubt, guess D apparently now.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, I better change my strategy up, huh? Which team selected quarterback John Elway as the number 1 pick in the 1983 draft? Was it A, the Miami Dolphins, B, the Denver Broncos, C, the Baltimore Colts, or D, Cleveland Browns?
Why do I think this is a trick question? I think everyone knows who Elway played for, but did he get drafted by them?
No, they did not draft him. Can you say the answers again?
A, Miami Dolphins,
Okay.
B, Denver Broncos,
Sure.
C, Baltimore Colts,
Yeah.
or D, Cleveland Browns?
All right. I got an answer.
You got an answer, Joe?
I'm thinking I know it.
Did I get a trick one in there? Come on.
I think.
Huh?
All right, I'm gonna just.
All right, put them up.
All right, I think Baltimore Colts, right?
Yep, you both got it right.
So
Were you going to go Denver?
I was thinking Denver at first. I'm like, that can't be right.
Trying to get a little trick one in there for you.
Yeah.
All right. Number 6. In 2004, who did the San Diego Chargers select first overall?
Ooh. All
No
right.
multiple choice. You just got to get it. Ready? I can't see it. Oh, is that LaDainian Tomlinson?
You put L2.
Yeah.
Oh, LaDainian Tomlinson.
Yep, it was Eli Manning. Joel got that right.
And then they traded with Phillip Rivers later in
I
that.
thought I was so sure it was LD.
He went in the 2nd round, I believe.
That was 2001, first round.
Oh, no, Breeze was their 2nd round pick that year, too.
Because they did the trade with Michael Vick. They had the first pick
Right.
that year and traded it.
Yep.
All right. Number 7.
Shoot.
In what year was quarterback Jamarcus Russell taken number 1 overall by the Oakland Raiders?
Gosh, I feel like it was like 80 years ago, but it was probably like 2009.
It was a great pick because it left Calvin Johnson just fall in our lap.
Mhm.
Wait, no.
If you're right in 2009, yikes. Then that's Stafford.
Go
I'll
ahead.
get him right now.
Show 07 and 06. Ooh, Joel got that one right.
Shoot.
Close
It was
enough.
it was between 6 and 7.
Joel, bonus question. Who did we draft in 2006?
Who did the Lions draft in 2006?
Yes.
2006. Gosh, I want to say Mike Williams, but he was 2005, wasn't he? Mike Williams 2005, 2006. Gosh.
I'll give you a clue. Reggie Bush year. You passed on Matt Leinart.
Why? I feel like it's a defensive. I felt like it was a defensive player, but maybe it wasn't.
PD linebacker.
Was it a line? It was. Ernie Sims then. Yeah, duh. Florida State.
All right. Number 8. This 2020 NFL draft prospect is the nephew of famous stand-up comedian Sinbad. Was it A, safety Jordan Fuller, B, wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, C, cornerback CJ Henderson, or D, running back DJ Dallas? This is one I had no idea. Totally found this one. Copyright. Stole it. All right, what's your answers? Joel says DJ Dallas. Say CJ Henderson. It was actually Jordan Fuller, the safety.
Ooh.
All right, last 2 questions.
What's the score here?
Go 2 questions to go. Joel's up 5-2.
Oh, perfect.
You're just fighting.
This is about my time to make a comeback.
Yeah.
I didn't fall one short.
This question's worth 2.
I'll make the last question worth 2. Just make it interesting.
Yeah.
All
I'll
right.
probably get this one wrong, so it won't matter.
Next one's worth 3.
All right. How many quarterbacks were drafted before Tom Brady at pick 199 in the 2000 NFL draft?
Is this multiple choice, or do we just have to guess?
No, we got to guess.
It was round 6, so... All right.
All right, go ahead. 9 and 6. Oh, got it right. The Brady 6. There were 6 of them.
All right, so the next one's worth 4.
This is worth 4 points.
All right. Last question. Green Bay passed on 3 Hall of Famers to draft this left tackle in the 1989 NFL draft.
89. Oh,
Yeah, I know who it is too. He was terrible. Okay, yeah, I got it.
I don't.
All right, you ready?
Yep.
Show it. Got it. Tony Mandrix. Yeah.
Well,
No,
Joel
bonus-
won like 10-2.
Bonus question. What were the 3 guys they passed on?
In 89?
Yeah. The 3 guys consecutively that went after him. All Hall of Famers.
I want to say Deion Sanders went that year, right?
Yep.
And Barry Sanders won in 89, right?
Yep.
And Troy Aikman?
He was number 1 overall.
Oh,
Then the
okay.
pass on him.
Is it Derek
4.
Thomas?
Yep.
All
Every
right.
time. 4 out of the top 5 went to Hall of Fame, and they got a bust at left tackle from Michigan State.
Yeah.
Lord.
You can't trust those Michigan State guys for sure.
Especially when they take steroids. Obviously,
All right,
they take steroids.
That means next week, Isaiah, you got to make the trivia questions. RJ and I will face each other.
Ooh. Do
All
we
right,
need it? Can we go? Can I pick the theme, or is there a theme I have to stick?
You can run it however you want. They can be about movies. They can be about music. They can be about sports.
Whatever you want, yeah.
Oh, they're just going to be about a sport that's not football.
Oh.
Okay, I don't know anything about badminton, so RJ's got me on that.
No.
Joel.
It'll be one of the major 4 sports.
Joel smoked me in baseball.
RJ will smoke me in basketball.
So hockey it is.
Right? I don't know anything about hockey either.
Oh, I can do some hockey trivia.
All right.
How do you pronounce Athanasiu?
I'm at the phone a friend on that probably.
Yeah, and you're going to type Boons, aren't you?
Yep. I'm just going to have him up on the side. Listen to the questions.
All right. Well, this concludes our post-draft show. Appreciate you hanging out with us, and thanks for Zoom for letting me hang out for more than 40 minutes this week.
That was nice, yeah. Not getting booted off in the middle of an
Really
interview.
good.
For sure. All right. Well, we will pop back in sometime next week and reconvene.
All right.
All right. See you guys.
See you.